Story 1. Leave it to decay with no proper exercise. I was working 18 hours a day at a desk, not thinking that this would destroy my back. 2 years later, I am the strongest I have ever been through gym, swimming, and Pilates. To all the young people out there, do not neglect your health and exercise. Otherwise, you will reach a point where there are few things you can do to recover. Story 2. I had crippling anxiety for nearly 20 years. I did nothing except sit and play video games all day. The worst thing you can do is nothing and just sit all day. Story 3. Drugs and alcohol. 8 years sober as of April, but the repercussions will stay with me forever and continue to affect my health. Story 4. Years of overeating have taken a toll. I have lost quite a bit of weight, but I still struggle with being overweight. It is very hard to lose and keep the extra weight off. Story 5. Getting breast implants. A week after the original procedure, I had to have emergency surgery because one breast had a hematoma. Neither the original surgery nor the emergency surgery was covered by insurance. While I had financially planned for the first procedure, the second one was a hit. After healing, the implants bottomed out where the implant slips below the bottom of the natural breast, making the breasts look saggy and misshapen. I experienced severe pain almost every day in one breast. I wanted natural-looking breasts, but I was so embarrassed by the bottoming out that I could not even be intimate with my husband with my shirt off. I ended up having them removed after a year, another financial hit. So I paid $20,000 for a year of pain and body dysmorphia. I want to add that I have a few friends who have had breast implants and did not experience any of this. For them, their implants boosted their confidence, complemented their body shape, and made them very happy. I am always honest with people who ask about my experience because mine was not great, but there are many reasons why women want implants. I do not actively advocate against implants or plastic surgery in general. My surgeon discussed risks associated with the procedure with me, but I was young and arrogant and assumed none of the bad outcomes would happen to me. Story 6. In certain parts of China, when dining with friends, the amount of alcohol consumed symbolizes the depth of your friendship. The more you drink, the stronger the bond. On one occasion, I had dinner with 2 colleagues, and we had several drinks during the meal because we believed that drinking more made our friendship more profound. Little did we know that the next day, my stomach began to bleed. Due to vomiting, some stomach tissue even entered the chest through the esophagus. To alleviate the symptoms, I refrained from consuming spicy foods and drinks for 2 years and avoided eating too much. Thankfully, I have mostly recovered now. Story 7. Getting a tattoo on my 18th birthday just because I could. Thank God it is not easily visible or inappropriate, but it is just so dumb. I searched for the closest tattoo parlor in my area, gave the artist $120, and told him to go wild. My parents did not want me to have one, and I was a rebellious teenager. Story 8. I regret how much I pushed my body without listening to it. I didn't feed it properly, was always underweight, lost hair, stopped getting my period, and for years I barely slept. I also smoked a lot of marijuana for a long time, which I really regret now. For the past 5 years, I haven't touched marijuana or a cigarette. I eat regular meals, sleep enough, and move my body in a healthy and balanced way. I'm finally treating it with the respect it always deserved. Story 9. Not wearing a back brace when working as a loader at Lowe's. I did the job for 3 years when I was 19, 20, and 21. I was young and careless. Lowe's offered everyone back braces and provided mandatory training on how and when to use them, but at that age, you usually just do not care. It damaged my back enough to be slightly uncomfortable and irritating to this day. I am almost 40 now, 20 years of discomfort so far, for 3 years of being reckless at a job that paid $9 per hour for manual labor. Story 10. I tried to kill myself at 19 with a bottle of antidepressants and a bottle of vodka. It was terrible. I was young, mentally ill, and foolish. I thought it would be easy and painless. Little did I realize what was about to happen. 5 minutes in, I was excited. As 10 minutes passed, my breathing started to slow. 15 minutes passed, and I began to panic. I rushed to my mom, explaining the situation, realizing I did not want to die yet. Felt like being underwater, drowning on dry land. I would not recommend it. I went to my room and lost consciousness. An ambulance arrived and I was put into a medically induced coma by the hospital. My mom recorded me and shared it on social media. It became a yearly memory that the platform reminded me of. When I woke up in the hospital 2 weeks later, it was not a pleasant experience. I had full hallucinations. Snakes coming out of the walls and a saxophone player playing next to me. I had a catheter placed, which I thought was a snake. I pulled at it and was restrained. I bled heavily afterward and experienced unbearable pain. Thankfully, there was no lasting damage. Now, I am almost 25 in about 10 days and feeling great. The lesson is this: no matter how hard things get, even if you have intrusive thoughts, do not do anything harmful. Suicide is not painless or easy. It is terrible. Get help, attend therapy, and find hobbies or new interests. Talk to your family and friends. Do not do what I tried to do. For context, even though my mom recorded this moment and posted it online, it was not done in bad faith. I know many are upset, assuming she caused this, but my actions were due to my own undiagnosed mental illness. I asked my mom why she recorded it, and she said it was in case I died. She wanted to see me, even if I was drooling and incoherent. In hindsight, sharing it was a difficult choice. Although it was painful to have this private moment shared, it also serves as a reminder of what not to do if intrusive thoughts return. Story 11. Believing that I was fat as a child. I saw my childhood photos yesterday and realized I was not fat. I was tall. However, people kept telling me I was fat. At the age of 9, I tied a ribbon around my tummy to stop myself from eating a lot so that everyone would stop calling me fat. I started one meal a day at 19, and it messed up my relationship with food so much that there is no going back. I am 27 years old now and suffering from an eating disorder with polycystic ovary syndrome. I have gained a lot of weight. Everyone around me was so happy, laughing and enjoying telling me I was fat growing up. Yesterday, when I saw my picture as a child sent to me by my cousins, I realized I was never fat. I was just tall, and everyone associated it with fatness. Now, I do not even know how to reverse the damage I have done to my body. Story 12. Stopping the physical exercise I did when I was a child and teenager. I went from constant skating, biking, rollerblading, tree climbing, digging holes, running, and jogging to sitting in a one-bedroom apartment with a group of people who used drugs. Then I spent half a decade in psychiatric facilities and treatment centers, where I either avoided conversation by playing video games all day or engaged in unhelpful behaviors. These were unhealthy strategies I regret. Story 13. Self-harming as a teenager. Back then, I could hide it with long sleeves and pants. Now I am nearly 30, with distinct white lines on my arms or thighs that you can see in my work clothes or swimwear. It is not very obvious to anyone who sees them, but I know. Story 14. Probably when I sat too close to the screen in my youth while playing a lot of video games, now I have to wear glasses to read. Story 15. This is semi-embarrassing, but I have had no medical care unless it was a crisis. I have not been to the dentist in 19 years. I have never seen a gynecologist. I had major hospital stays and surgeries in my teen years that probably turned me off to the medical system, so now I cannot imagine going to the doctor unless I was dying. The thought of going to a doctor now seems crazy. Partner that with no insurance, and it is an easy choice. Story 16. Tattoos become more blurred and less clear as you get older. The biggest factors are drug use, body condition, and poor health resulting from it. Story 17. I hit myself a lot when I was a kid because I thought when adults called me lazy, it was true. It turns out I have an autoimmune disease, so all the pain I caused myself was for nothing. I still hit myself because it is so difficult to get this condition diagnosed. I cannot find or keep a job that can accommodate this, so I am doing just fine. Story 18. Carrying, giving birth to, and breastfeeding 3 babies. I love my children, but they absolutely wrecked my body. Story 19. Gaining weight by being inactive. Before the coronavirus pandemic, I was in decent shape. Then, during online school in 8th grade, I gained weight. It didn't help that I attended a new school for high school. I was the new student who was short, overweight, and awkward. I started working out a lot, and now I am confident in my physique. However, I wish I did not have such a difficult starting point. Story 20. Wrecking basically all of my joints and back playing contact sports, primarily ice hockey. I had a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. I would still play even knowing what I know today, but if I could go back and do it over, I would have seen a physical therapist much sooner and done a lot more to prevent and properly heal injuries. It's easier to list my good joints at this point. Getting a bunch of concussions probably did not help either. I have multiple sclerosis now. Story 21. Treated sunscreen like an optional downloadable content. Now my freckles have merged into one giant regret-shaped constellation. Story 22. I am malnourished, but it is not my fault that I am poor. I still regret it, though. You just end up feeling terrible after a while. Story 23. Smoking when I was younger and gaining weight. It is so hard to lose, and my skin is loose in places. Also, cutting my hair and consuming alcohol were mistakes. Story 24. Gaining and losing significant amounts of weight multiple times. Losing 30 pounds, gaining 50 pounds, losing 60 pounds, gaining 70 pounds. Currently losing weight again while battling various disordered eating habits. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Story 25. Not exercising properly, such as weight training incorrectly or lifting extremely heavy weights without any support, and getting hurt as a result. Not being serious about my fitness and not starting Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I was younger. Story 26. Binding unsafely and self-harming. What makes it even worse is that I am still doing it now. I am so terrified of my parents finding out. Story 27. Being careless with my sexual interactions and not taking sex seriously. I am now 24 and can see how it affects one's mind and sense of self-worth to not be much more cautious about who I give my body to. Story 28. Becoming obese. I did lose the weight, but I still work on my belly, and the damage I caused there might be irreversible without cosmetic procedures. I might have so many empty fat cells that do not disappear on their own, so I may not get a flat belly even with workouts. The skin actually recovered well, as I am a young woman. My skin can stretch more and return to normal. However, fat cells fill up, and if all of them are full, the body produces new ones and fills them. Even if you empty them out afterward, the empty cells remain, and the body does not destroy them. If there are too many empty fat cells, it becomes clearly noticeable. I have struggled with what my belly looks like since I was 7 or 8 years old. Now, I might not even be able to fix it myself because I let myself go and didn't exercise restraint during high school. I weighed over 100 kilograms at the end of high school. I am trying to fix my belly on my own and have not given up completely, but there is a chance I might not be able to fix it alone. Story 29. Dieting. My mom signed me up for Weight Watchers in middle school and would constantly restrict everything I ate. I was tired, depressed, and in pain all the time, yet I never lost more than 20 pounds. Now grown, I have a doctor I've talked to about it, and he told me to focus on eating more of what I need and worry less about calorie intake overall. I haven't felt this good in my life despite gaining weight. I can exercise without feeling overwhelmed. I have energy and hope. Being overweight might make me more susceptible to certain diseases, which I manage with my doctor, but trying to force myself to lose weight at the cost of my overall health almost killed me. I like my body despite it being conventionally displeasing to many, and I have a partner who loves me as I am, not in spite of it. I wish I could tell that little kid that being chubby wasn't a moral failing, that I wasn't just going to die of a heart attack and be laughed at for the rest of my life. And I wish I could tell them that one day they would never have to eat gluten-free bread ever again. Story 30. Taking all of the iron supplements at once is dangerous. Do not do this unless you want to risk serious harm. I did, but my workaholic father happened to be home that day and found my letter. Now, I am here with potential irreversible liver damage. I do not drink alcohol, so I have not stressed my liver with alcohol, but it is unfortunate that I have to be extra careful with medications and other substances because we do not know if my liver can handle them. Story 31. Belly button piercing at 20. Nobody told me it looks awful after you have been pregnant and given birth. That is where the worst stretch marks on my belly are now. Story 32. Bulimia and crash dieting. I lost 150 pounds rapidly through extreme restriction and purging. Sadly, a lot of the advice came from the Lose It subreddit. Rapid weight loss will harm you physically and mentally. It took me years to develop a healthy relationship with food. If you have more than 50 pounds to lose, ask how you can lose it in a healthy way that will not harm you. I went from one eating disorder, overeating, to another. I became underweight, fainted, and even got a couple of stress fractures from overtraining on top of it. Story 33. Staying in toxic dynamics for too long stressed me out. Emotional and mental stress absolutely cause disease in the body. To whoever is reading this, there is no reward for perseverance. Save yourself and have a happy 3-day weekend. Story 34. I wish I had cared for my pregnancy belly better, so it would not look so rough now. I also wish I had taken skincare more seriously when I was younger. Oh, and sunscreen. Use sunscreen. Story 35. Fertility treatments. I love my children very much. I dislike how artificial hormones damaged my endocrine system. Story 36. Gaining weight in my later years. After years of carefully monitoring everything I ate, I began eating whatever I wanted. Now I am 70 pounds overweight and 67 years old. Story 37. I wish I had paid more attention at that moment a few years ago. I lost my concentration briefly while riding a bicycle, drove into a curb, went over the handlebars, and landed with most of my weight on my left hand. I had to have surgery, which involved inserting a metal plate to secure various bones, followed by a lengthy physiotherapy. Story 38. Half of my tattoos. I hate them. I love tattoos, but I want them off my body to start again. I am not the same person I was when I got them, and I am in the process of getting them removed. I wish I had waited to get a lot of them. Story 39. Stretch marks on my thighs. My mother bought me a very expensive body lotion to prevent them, but I was a careless teenager and refused to use it. Eventually, she told me, "Okay, it's up to you. Do whatever you want." Story 40. Letting it get fat. I have lost a bit of weight since, but there is still some to lose. As to when I can do that, I do not know. Story 41. The hurt that I have caused, the self-harm, the pursuit of vanity, forsaking my mental health for a time, not taking care of my teeth, not finding a sport I enjoyed and stuck with in my younger years just to play because I was too focused on being good at it. I am in my 30s, but still trying. Story 42. Smoking cigarettes. Also, not starting an exercise routine sooner after I was on medication that caused weight gain. Story 43. A decade and a half of anorexia nervosa and hours of exercise every day. I do not know how I can simultaneously look like an undeveloped teenager and feel like an aching, fragile old lady. Story 44. Getting the COVID vaccine. I'm not anti-vaccine because I got the vaccine in the first place. Within a week of my second shot, I couldn't breathe. My diaphragm was locked up in spasm, and all the muscles in my back and chest were locked up in the most painful spasming way. My job at the hospital required me to get it, and I ended up getting fired for missing too much work due to being sick from the shot they required me to get. I got COVID a year later and experienced nerve damage in my legs. Long COVID is no joke. I'm still disabled 4 years later. The week before I got the shot, I was biking over 100 miles a week. Now I can't even go for a jog. I'm 31 years old. Story 45. Honestly, all those crash diets. I put my body through hell trying to lose weight quickly instead of just being patient and consistent. My metabolism is probably still confused from all the times I ate nothing but cabbage soup for weeks. Story 46. Letting it get big. I am not saying I am obese, but I struggle to walk up the stairs without losing my breath. At least I used to. Now I am getting it under control. Story 47. I have been starving myself for a long time. Every time I eat, my stomach hurts. My view of food and my body will forever be distorted. Story 48. I have been consuming energy drinks since the age of 15. Now in my late 40s, I have only just stopped drinking them because my health has declined somewhat due to excessive consumption. Story 49. I started smoking marijuana at age 14. Don't get me wrong, I love smoking marijuana, but starting so young is questionable. I wish I had started later. Who knows where I would be? Story 50. I wish I never hit that cute girl's vaporizer in high school because I have been doing it since and really do not want to. But alas, addiction. Story 51. I am being bullied mercilessly right now. I cannot seem to stop allowing the abuse to affect my health. I am scared. Story 52. Letting someone touch me sexually for the first time while trying to move on from an ex is not my preference. I do not know why I even tried. It really sucks. I just froze. Story 53. Becoming addicted to caffeine and not sleeping properly can lead to gastric problems, anxiety, panic attacks, and mood swings. Story 54. Serious self-harm. I am scared it will prevent me from getting jobs in the future, short of having to permanently wear long sleeves and trousers. Story 55. I experienced deep depression for the first and only time in my life. I stopped eating and sleeping, only consuming alcohol and sleeping pills as the bare minimum to survive. Since then, I have managed to pull myself out of it, but the stress caused my hair to become very thin. Recovering and rebuilding my muscles is a long and difficult process. Story 56. Neglected it for years. I became overweight and had several sprained ankles when I was younger. But I did not know it was that bad and ignored it for years because I did not want to bother people. Sometimes it is worth asking for help or talking about it. I was never taught to take care of myself. It was always about doing things for others, and I hated that. These days I finally had the realization, and I have been taking better care of myself for many months. Story 57. Not realizing the importance of eating right and exercising at a younger age. I am 53 years old now, and I work very hard. Had I been able to make myself do that at 20 and continued, my body would look much better now. Story 58. Poor eating, drinking, and lack of exercise. You have corrected it over the last 5 to 6 years, but wish you had done it sooner. Story 59. Getting too much sun damage when I was young. Now I am dealing with spots, skin damage, and constant cancer screenings. Story 60. Not getting a sleep apnea assessment sooner. Oxygen deprivation and lack of sleep affect brain function significantly. I thought waking up exhausted and feeling fatigued every day was normal. If you snore loudly, it is worth consulting a professional. Story 61. Having children. No one talks about your body going cold turkey post-birth from all the hormonal changes. Your teeth deteriorate, hair falls out, and the list is long. Not to mention labor complications. I developed sepsis both times and experienced hemorrhaging the second time, resulting in flatlining. It was like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and having your life flash before your eyes. Story 62. Allowing men who do not value me to enter my life. However, I did not value myself, so we had that in common at least. Story 63. Not working out from a young age. I do exercise now, but it is not the same as if I had started sooner. Also, smoking since I was 14, but luckily I quit. Story 64. Letting my anxiety and depression lead to binge eating and little exercise. I am definitely doing better with it all, but the loose and lumpy skin makes me cringe and feel embarrassed. Story 65. Not taking the phrase, "you are pre-diabetic," seriously. I partly blame my physician because I went about my life thinking, I just need to lose a few pounds and I'll be okay. Not knowing that type 2 diabetes is a one-way street. Once you cross that line, there is no going back. You will be in maintenance mode and likely on medication for the rest of your life, assuming you want to keep using both feet and both eyes. Story 66. Energy drinks became a reliance, constantly putting in too much sugar and other harmful ingredients. It is very hard to stop using them, leaving me absolutely exhausted. However, my body is regaining the energy it had before I consumed them. Story 67. I used to relieve the stress and anxiety I felt from bullying by carving my nails into the skin of my legs. Mainly, I kept pulling away the crust every time. I don't want to count the scars because it makes me want to cry. Now, my lower legs are full of round scars. I regret it and want to fix it, but I don't know how. I hate it. I never wanted to do that to myself. I just couldn't stop. Story 68. Too late for me. I ruined my neck by age 25. It is very painful, and I cannot work anymore or easily keep in touch with friends. Story 69. Definitely my neck and throat tattoo at 18 because of my ex-boyfriend in high school. It is such a horrible place for a first tattoo. Story 70. Alcohol. Drank almost daily for years. Binged often. Really regret that. Was not an alcoholic though. Just wanted to get healthier and stopped. I have a few drinks a year now. Probably only 5 standard drinks a year. I do not miss it at all. I did not even notice that I felt off each day until I stopped. More energy. Wish I could go back and always have just a handful each year. Story 71. Having sex with my ex every single day because after 14 months of what I thought was love, she cheated, and I realized it was just sex. Story 72. I had one of my molars removed when I was 19 because I was very scared of the drill used for fillings and just couldn't overcome that fear at the time. Story 73. Overtraining at age 14 caused a stress fracture in my knee. Additionally, veterinarians posing as doctors in Croatia negatively affected my potential career. Story 74. Gaining a lot of weight because of coronavirus disease 2019. I wish I had the tools to develop healthier coping mechanisms during that difficult time. I gained weight quickly, which is not good for the skin. However, it is not a major regret. It did not affect my self-worth or my beauty. I am a confident person. It did impact my joints, metabolism, energy, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and caused many negative health side effects. I am eating better again and exercising to reach a healthier place. Story 75. Working all night and then being up all day taking care of my children. I have worked nights for 4 years now and I swear to God it is killing me. Story 76. Smoking a lot of marijuana and drinking a lot of coffee without drinking water. My lower gums have receded significantly, and it is making me very insecure. Story 77. Wrecking my teeth in mosh pits and trap houses because I disliked myself so much, even though people always said I had a beautiful smile. Story 78. Repetitive assembly shift working in a 60-hour week for 2 years. I was rich and unhappy. This was the moment when I changed from the nice and funny person to someone with burnout, close to depression, and no motivation for anything. I was always tired no matter how much or little I slept, and my food routine was non-existent. You should not do this to your own mental health at 22 years old. I am glad that I do not live in a country where I have to work like this and instead have options to do what I like. Story 79. Hating myself to the extent that I despise myself as a person and as a human being. Considering myself undeserving of love. Story 80. Getting braces at age 13. My teeth weren't too bad to begin with, but having braces at that age made me feel very self-conscious. I definitely struggled with low confidence and anxiety, as if teenage years are not difficult enough already. Looking back, I definitely would not have bothered. Story 81. Picked up football after over 2 years of not playing. Without warm-up, I exerted myself as much as possible and pushed myself far beyond what I could handle right away. I just finished anterior cruciate ligament reconstruction surgery. Remember, your muscles, tendons, and ligaments cannot always match your spirit and enthusiasm. Ease yourself into activity. Do not just jump, or in my case run, into it head, or in my case knee first. Story 82. For me, it is having a crippling nicotine addiction. I know I am doing major damage to my body, and it will possibly kill me one day, but it is hard to stop. Story 83. Getting a tattoo of my ex's name. It's small and on my wrist, but every time I look at it, I think about that day. I think about that morning when he held me down and told me everything he was going to do when he moved to California. All I could do was lie there begging him to stop being mean, to let me get up, and to stop pinning me down. When he finally let me up, we sat in silence for a bit, then left and got Taco Bell and alcohol. We got back, ate and drank a lot. We never really talked about that intense moment. Instead, it got swept under the rug. I think about how after all the drinking, we went to a tattoo festival. Took a bit, then we came across a really sweet couple. I went first and I was nervous. I remember him holding my hand. Then he got a tattoo on his ankle. It was an engineering grounding symbol. I think about when we left the tattoo festival, and I told him what his name on my wrist meant to me. I also think about how the rest of the day was just really relaxed and filled with drinking. Only a month later, he broke up with me. He broke up with me the same way he had technically told me we were going to break up that morning. It was cruel, cold, and subtly malicious. I definitely regret this tattoo, but at the same time, I can't bring myself to get it removed or changed into something else. I don't know why. Story 84. I did not take good care of my teeth in my younger days and neglected dentists for years. I am much better now, but I had to make many visits and endure hours of pain with each visit. I am very lucky now to have a really good dentist. Story 85. I let myself get overweight. Depression, grief, and a family of overeaters did me no favors. I am working on it now and have lost 8 stone in the last year, but I wish I had not let it get to that point. Story 86. I was intoxicated and allowed a friend to burn a smiley into my arm just below my elbow with a cigarette lighter. It left a keloid scar. The situation worsened when a reputable surgeon told me it could be fixed by removing the scar. The same thing happened, but now the scar was larger. I underwent another surgery with the same surgeon, and once again the scar became bigger. I assumed it was due to infection, but it turns out it is just how some areas of my skin heal. The surgeon failed to mention this risk before operating, leaving me feeling betrayed. I am now left with a scar on my arm that resembles a penis. Story 87. Not taking my oral health seriously. In the past year and a half, I have had 2 root canals and 3 crowns, and I still need multiple fillings. Fillings do not last forever, and neither do crowns. I know my self-confidence will take a hit when one of my root canal teeth crumbles because of lack of nerve and blood supply. Eventually, I will have to get implants or live with empty spaces where the teeth were. I am only 33 years old. Story 88. Rugby. Tight head prop on the school team for almost a decade. Every joint in my spine and legs is injured. Story 89. Instead of going to a doctor, I used high-strength vinegar to try to remove a stubborn wart from my hand. I applied the vinegar daily using a piece of cotton held on by a bandage. The skin surrounding the wart eventually started dying, but I kept applying the vinegar on open wounds, which left permanent scarring. Unfortunately, the wart still survived, and I eventually went to a doctor to have it frozen off. Story 90. My nipple piercing was rejected by my body, but I stupidly hoped it would heal. It became infected, and now I have 2 different nipples. Story 91. Not putting my nipple piercings right back in after I had surgery. It does not matter how long you have had your nipples pierced. They close up very quickly. Story 92. Becoming overweight at a young age caused many stretch marks and loose skin that I will now need to have surgically removed after having children. Story 93. I quit competitive gymnastics at 16 and thought I was invincible until the back pain started at 30. I still love lifting, but now I stretch like it is a religion. Story 94. Giving myself an eating disorder for over 20 years and taking a long time to address it, I caused permanent heart damage. I have somewhat recovered since having my baby in 2021. It gave me newfound respect for my body and made me realize that I needed calories to grow, feed, and care for my baby. However, those little voices in my head telling me my body is disgusting still pop up here and there. It is rough sometimes. Story 95. Neglecting my teeth in my late teens and early 20s. To be fair, I did not think I would live long enough for it to matter. But here I am, in my 30s and a dozen fillings later, plus another every couple of years at this point. So yes, take care of your teeth. You only get 1 adult set. Story 96. Never running. I ran full speed after my dog a couple of weeks ago, and I honestly felt like I was going to die from a heart attack. Story 97. Self-harming because, 8 years later, my arms and legs are covered in obvious scars that will not fade any more than they already have. Bio-oil had no effect. Binge eating because years of impulsive eating combined with weight gain as a side effect of my medications has resulted in developing type 2 diabetes, fatty liver and pancreas, and intense self-hatred over my obesity. Suicide attempts by overdosing because it not only destroyed all trace of trust that my parents had for me, even as an adult, but traumatized my parents due to seeing my unconscious, vomit-covered body and caused some damage to my organs. Punching a wall when I was 17 because my knuckle was likely broken, and the psychiatric hospital I was in did not take me for an X-ray. This resulted in long-term pain and a permanent lump between my middle and ring finger knuckles. I also have scars on both hands on the knuckles from regularly punching walls as a teenager with unsound mental health. Injecting ketamine regularly until a few years ago because it resulted in some bladder weakness and frustrating cravings every now and then. Story 98. Becoming super obese. I was overweight and obese for nearly 2 decades. I started losing weight in 2022 and am finally at a normal body mass index. I have a lot of loose skin I would love to have removed. Story 99. Not managing my weight and habits sooner. I am rapidly approaching a critical point. My body will not recover as it would have 10 years ago, and I now have injuries that make exercise much more difficult. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.